booking. And this would then in turn enable us to direct our marketing communications away from simply reminding our regular audiences to activities which enrich their experience of the art form or to foster the acquisition of new audiences. So has it worked? Well, certainly as you saw from our figures, from a revenue perspective it has, but from that point of view of changing customer behaviour, it's perhaps a little bit more difficult to measure. What we can say is that our Sydney season of Romeo and Juliet in 2011 sold out well before its November opening. What we've also seen that our 2012 general public ticket on sale in Sydney, that first day sales increased by 23% compared to the sales for the same period 2011. And what we've seen in our Adelaide and Brisbane seasons to date is quite a discernible shift in buying patterns. So what this graph shows is our sales in Brisbane. The yellow line here is this year's season, which took place in February, and it's as compared to sales for the previous 4 years. So what this shows is there's quite a noticeable change in how those buying patterns are playing out. Sales started very strongly right at the beginning of the campaign and remained incredibly steady. Where we'd usually see a spike once a production opened, this didn't play out as we'd usually, or not to the extent that we'd usually expect. Now there are many factors at play here. There's repertoire, there's the timing, there's long-term audience development, but it's interesting to consider whether this is actually an effect of demand-based pricing and if this is the sort of buying pattern we might expect to see in the future. So just a little bit of the slightly more operational side of things. As I mentioned, we had a phased approach to demand-based pricing. So in late 2010 and through 2011, we looked at a per production model. So we'd look at available capacity of a production and increase prices to all performances within that production accordingly. Now this is relatively simple to maintain from an operational perspective and also relatively easy to communicate to customers. Now this achieved a great revenue result, but was it really managing our demand and maximising our inventory? While the structure tacitly penalised late bookers, it didn't actively encourage sales into performances with higher available capacity. And from analysing our 2011 results, what we saw is that individual performance capacities varied quite wildly between what was those and what was represented in the production overall. So in 2012, we've moved to a per performance-based model. So we assess demand for each individual performance within a production season and incrementally increase the price accordingly. So our model is that for each 10% of capacity, we increase the ticket price by $10. Our modelling indicates that this will create additional revenue opportunities. It will provide greater potential to influence customer buying behaviour. But at the same time, it does also create a much greater transparency around our pricing strategies, and we need to be really clear to communicate these accordingly. And there